Welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got the LCS Proving Grounds continuing on with the round 2 of the losers bracket. I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi, and we've got a wonderful day of games ahead of us. How you feeling today, Joshi?
I'm feeling good. I can't wait. It's been so long, it feels like, since we've last been on Improving Grounds, and I don't know if we've ever worked together. So, Twitch chat, you gotta give us some hype because this is gonna be a great day of games for the both of us.
It is. We get to go down a little bit of what we have ahead of us here. It's going to be very fun because first of all, we get to start off with the amateur bout between Resolve and AOE. One of those teams is going to have to bow out of the tournament today. And on the other side, the later round we have is going to be Immortals Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Academy, another knockout round.
It's all knockout rounds today, Mazel. We got a lot on the line for both these teams, and for some of them, that feels like they've already lived up their expectations. Some of them feel like they still have a long way to go, and it really comes down to how you're actually going to be performing today, because as you start getting further, the opponents get tougher and tougher, and every single win you pick up here just means you get that much farther, right? This is where you're playing not only for the prize money that's going to be coming in towards the end of the bracket, but also just the pride and showing all the scouts that you have what it takes to actually play on some of these academy and potentially even LCS rosters.
That's what I love. Talking to some of these players, get into the nitty gritty of that later on. But the theme is, right, being able to prove yourself. This is Proving Grounds. There are scouts watching. This is where you have to put up or shut up, right? And like, you don't want to bow out of a tournament this early, right? We're only in round 2. There's still a lot left to go, and you want to be a part of that story.
It is, and we also have to keep in mind that being knocked down into the loser's bracket doesn't mean you're out of the tournament, but it does mean that your journey is going to be twice as long. Every single time you're knocked down, every single round that happens in the upper bracket, you have to play 2 in the lower bracket just to get the same kind of placement. So all of these teams are going to have to play a lot more than they would otherwise want to, and the other half are going to be going home. So we'll see what kind of improvements proving they can make over the course of this tournament in order to stay up there.
As you see, we've got our theme nailed down here with the Proving Grounds, but I got to dive into this first matchup here. We got to bring up the rosters. We got to talk about these teams because it is Resolve versus AOE. Both these teams have so much left to prove in Proving Grounds, but especially with a lot of these names going into this, and especially with AOE just coming off of beating the heart of Amateur in Supernova.
It's definitely a big opportunity for both these teams, and I want to start with Resolve, partly because they are on the left side of my screen, and that's just how my notes work,
Left to
but
right,
also
fine.
because it feels like a lot of people have been eyeing this team with a lot of confusion, right? It's been so hard to figure out how strong this team actually is. They weren't necessarily able to do super great in all the Tier 2 tournaments, and then they beat Cloud9 Academy, the team that just lost to Team Liquid in Academy in a 5-game series, right? Like, this is very clearly a team that has some very high highs and sometimes isn't quite able to live up to that. And I think right now, based on how they were playing yesterday against Wildcard Red, they had moments where they could really come out ahead. But today, they're going to be going up against AOE, who, let's face it, it's not Wildcard Red.
It's not Wildcard Red for sure. I feel like I want to base down a little bit more of the general principles here, especially with both these teams going into it. I like that you were talking about Resolve a little bit because I do think that it's really interesting, their journey to this point, and the fact that it requires all pieces to be moving together, right, for Resolve to function. I feel like they rely on that a lot more, as well as a team chemistry, at least. On the other side, you do have some of that, but it's a lot more of those individual outplays. It's those individual plays that will win them games.
It definitely feels like a very cohesive team in Resolve versus a little bit more of a chaotic team coming in from AOE. And to go back a little bit to how they were actually talking about how well they feel they've played so far, I had a chance to talk to a couple of players and also with their owner Riley, and it's interesting to see the dichotomy of what people are looking at. A lot of people from the outside looking in said, like, hey, this team has already done rather well, right? They're already improving grounds. They've already proven themselves with a team that is a lot of rookies, a lot of people who are relatively new, and Riley's like, yeah, we think that we are very happy with this roster that we put together, but the players themselves feel like they still have a lot more to prove and feel like they should be going further in this tournament. The next step is taking down Resolve.
That is the next step. We will be seeing the first step in this best of 3 series between Resolve and AOE. We got to step away before we get into the draft, though. We're going to take a small little break. But on the other side, draft for game number 1 coming up. Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS Summer Proving Grounds round number 2 losers bracket matchup between Resolve and AOE. Again, I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi. Woo. And we've got a little bit of a table to set here because we have a very, very pressure-filled matchup going on between Resolve, between AOE, both these teams putting everything on the line tonight, one of them going home. And we got to talk a little bit about the journey we've gotten to this point with Joshi.
We do, and let's go ahead and start with AOE since we've been talking about Resolve quite a bit. They have honestly not had a chance to play any of the Academy teams just quite yet, as they have been playing through Proving Grounds. We saw them play Supernova, we also saw them play Cloud9 Amateur, and now they're going to be going up against Resolve. But if they do win this one, they will be playing the winner of Evil Geniuses versus Immortals, which will, in fact, be their first opportunity to prove themselves against teams that they have not played against this entire split.
That's what's crazy to me is they've gotten to this point without playing an Academy team, with the Proving Grounds being a mesh of all the talent. But it must mean that much more to them to make that next step, to be able to go against one of those Academy teams, because, you know, they were able to take the unfortunate loss from C9 Amateur in 2-1 fashion and go 2-1 over Supernova in their last game, which is a huge motivational point for them, a huge jumping off point for them, I feel like, into this series against Resolve, who have also had a very interesting run so far. A team that has played so much together and has so much synergy built up between them had a decent run through. They showed up strong with a 2-0 victory over C9 Academy, who you pointed out earlier, but then unfortunately losing to that wildcard red matchup 2-0. It's definitely a bounce back needed for Resolve.
And I feel like this kind of sets the table for one of the things that you were talking to APA about, where the difference between Academy and Amateur, you know, last split, we were pretty confident that we were going to see a very competitive top end between the Academy and Amateur teams. And this time, APA is convinced that that doesn't really exist this split either, right? Wildcard Red, I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to necessarily be on par or necessarily better than some of the top Academy teams. So we definitely put them in like the same tier, not necessarily clearly above. But this is a situation where we are starting to see that when teams like Resolve, teams that we were expecting to have like middling expectations coming into Proving Grounds, they're taking down some of the top Academy teams already. So maybe Amateur and Academy are a lot closer. Does the gap really exist? At this point, probably not.
Hey, that's what we're here to find out in the Proving Grounds. That does that gap exist? How can we see these teams show up? And I'm just gonna throw it in there because we've been keeping up with the puns. How much resolve does resolve show in this losers bracket? I love the face. That means I'm on the right direction. But the other thing I need to talk about that is so important to me, at least for this series in general, is this jungle matchup between the two. We have such bright faces in the amateur scene of RBM versus Fnatic, and it's such a hype matchup that means so much for the series itself because these are two crucial ways that these teams love to play.
Yeah, and they play very differently in our eyes, right? We've been seeing that RBM yesterday, he brought out the Kha'Zix, and it was fantastic, right? Seeing how effectively he was able to pop off was something that we are not necessarily seeing a lot of other teams play to, whereas Fnatic, he's been playing a lot of the Lee Sin and Trundle, things that are a little bit more supportive for his team, things that are going to be much more enabling for everybody else on this roster in order to find advantages, where, again, RBM, he plays for himself. He's not necessarily ganking his lanes so much as his lanes are ganking for him.
Yeah, I think that's the crucial difference between the two. And I think that is what matters the most when you're looking at early playstyles for these teams where we're seeing that kind of success come down to. And on the side of RBM, how much show power can you show up with against this sturdy team of Resolve who does like to play together and synergizes so well together? And a crucial piece to that jungle matchup is going to be the mid lane between APA and Darkwings. As we get into draft here very shortly, we've got to look at how crucial those picks are going to be early on.
One of the things that we have to know about Resolve, is it does look like some of our graphics are on the wrong side, but APA is the one that is going to be one of the very few mid laners that actually still plays Ziggs in the mid lane, right? In an era where it is predominantly being played in the bottom lane, and it's kind of a known thing where you're going to be able to push out the lane, you just wait and you scale. APA is about the only mid laner that actually plays it, and it brings all the same strengths, but it also has a couple more weaknesses because it's a little bit more easy to attack. But as we've already seen, APA just feels like he does more damage with the Ziggs than everybody else. Just seeing him kill people like the Redacted yesterday, absolutely crazy, as we see our Camille, the first pick, locked in for Faisal.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one little point to that mid lane matchup. I love it because I talked to both these mid laners because I really wanted to see what their mindsets were coming into this. Both of them, no big deal. They're going to take the easy dub today. So we'll see how that comes down in the draft. As you said, the first pick for AOE on that blue side of the Camille. It's responded to by Resolve on the red side with the Thresh Varus insta-lock.
And I like this quite a bit. Thresh is very strong with the failures taken off the table. Varus comes in at a close second for me in terms of what you want to actually be pairing with this Thresh. And it feels interesting. Traditional logic says that you would want to pick the Nautilus into the Thresh, because when Thresh goes for the windup with his death sentence, it roots him in place and it allows Nautilus to go for an easy hook, and he tends to do more damage. But what we've been seeing is that as players have gotten better, as people have explored the Thresh matchups more, it becomes harder and harder to actually counterpick this. Almost everything things like the Leona does can just be counteracted by Thresh with some on-point plays.
Yeah, I think that's a big pickup for Resolve in the terms of how they like to play, especially Winter getting on the roams, but also having such utility in the pick. The other side, you got kill so far. You're going in with the engage, and they will die. Darkwings does also lock in the Ziggs. A little bit of flex potential there, but we still have that locked in for AO.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Darkwings has played it so far throughout Proving Grounds, but one of the things that I always like to say, and I know I get some funny looks from people in Twitch chat and on the internet, and even some of my friends are like, Josh, are you kind of crazy? Ziggs is one of the best divers in the game, right? And he doesn't do it with his body, but when you have something like Camille and Leona who are going to lock down a single target, it virtually guarantees that you're going to hit at least the outer edge of the Mega Inferno Bomb, and for a character like Fars, who's not going to have a Tom Kench on his team to eat him out and deny all that damage, you're guaranteed easily 500, 800, 1,000 damage onto a squishy member, and that could be at least as much as the Camille is going to be doing on their own.
Yeah, it's huge, and that goes with the kill strategy that AoE is going to be having. Also sticking with their name a little bit with Area of Effect, no big deal. Trundle is locked in with Resolve there as the third pick. I'm not the biggest fan of Trundle because I feel like it does require a huge amount of execution, but we'll see how Fnatic, unless it gets traded somewhere else, see how Fnatic can do on that pick. I do want to dive into these second round of bans because I do think they're very important. We do have the Kha'Zix banned away by RBM, as well as the Azir is actually banned away by Darkwings. And then on the other side, we have Aurelion Sol banned away against APA, his tried and true, and then Jace also gets banned off the table.
The Jason Aurelion Sol are both very clearly super targeted, right? I had a conversation with, I think it was Draxter not that long ago, where he says the stronger your team is, the more meta your bans end up becoming. Whereas if you perceive that they are a little bit better on certain champions to the point where it overrides the meta, you tend to see bans like the Aurelion Sol, like APA play, that nobody else plays, and the Jace for PCL. And instead, Resolve going to be finding themselves a very strong laning matchup, but one that can become a little bit of a liability depending on what jungler RBM goes for in the Gnar.
And I like this piece to the puzzle for Resolve. I think it's very important to get a lot of setup for the team fight for you, especially when you're going up against what you're going up against, because I do think they have a lot of kill pressure there. But with that being said, I do still feel like they need another carry source for Resolve, right? And they need to find something else that's going to be able to bolster them and have the damage to back up those peels and those things that are being able to be done by Resolve while AoE is trying to engage. It is the Graves, though.
It is the Graves. This is a champion that can dive Gnar very effectively, provided, of course, he is mini. So I like what AoE have done. They have a diverse damage profile already, and this allows Darkwings to play pretty much whatever he wants. And the Syndra is going to be the answer. Very safe blind, very easy to play into almost anything you want. And the Silas would be a little bit surprised to me coming out from APA. He hasn't yet played it this Proving Grounds, and I feel like it only has an okay matchup at best. You can get bullied really hard early on, but the Syndra just allows AoE to be at locations first and really threaten all of the fog of war wherever Resolve try and come in from.
Ooh, it's going to be the Oriana locked in. So very, very heavy team fight potential there for Resolve. I also want to go back to the point that this is RBM's Graves as well. He's very, very nice to have in your first game at a best of 3, a little bit of confidence pick there. And I feel like AoE have set themselves up a lot for the direct damage, for the kill potential that they want, where on the other side, Resolve are relying on the team play, relying on what we set up for themselves, Joshi.
They are, and one of the things that I will criticize this composition a little bit for is they're light on what I call primary engage, right? This is your Malphite, your Nautilus, your Leona, things that are just like, hey, we're fighting now, and I'm going to press a button and the fight starts, right? They have a lot of what I call secondary engage. These are champions that are good at getting a fight going and making sure you get stuck in once the fight has already started. The Gnar is great at this. He's not the first one that he's going to be jumping in, but he can be very good if a fight has already started. Oriana, Varus kind of does a similar thing, and the Varus is really their only way to consistently get a fight started.
That's going to be a lot to ask of. This game one is going to require all the attention for both these teams. It's a kickoff of a knockout best of 3. We got to step away for just a small little break while we get ready for the game. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome. We are live here on the Summoner's Rift, the LCS Summer Proving Grounds losers bracket matchup between AOE and Resolve kicks off now.
Wow, I cannot follow you that. Let's go. It's our first game of the day, London. We got a lot going on, and AoE already coming out with a very aggressive start up here in the top lane. Now, I like seeing these early level 1 plays that come through, but as Resolve are kind of noticing that they're not seeing anybody else on the map, they feel a little more confident to actually go in and get a little bit more of their early vision. So AoE, they take a gamble, aren't necessarily going to be rewarded for it, but they're not really going to be losing a whole lot for it either. And I generally feel like this is very okay for AOE. They want to make sure that RBM has options to set some of the early game tempo, because as you and I discussed earlier, it could be really hard for teams to play up against Resolve later on if they don't have an early game plan, and RBM now has the freedom to set whatever plan he wants.
Exactly, and that's what I love about this so far is like they've played right into our plans, Joshi. Unless we just are really good at our research. It's just the fact that they're playing how they like to play, right? And I love to see that here in a best of 3 where you do need to prove yourself in the proving grounds, and the fact that you can see the aggression coming out from the side of AOE early because it fits their composition, it fits their style of play, and Resolve just trying to weather the storm, try to get to that point where they can team fight, where they feel comfortable to play.
And if they are able to get towards it, we've typically seen that they have been winning a lot of these later game team fights, partly because they're super coordinated, but also partly because they've been picking the Ornn, as a lot of people have brought up in discussions that we've had. It is a very strong later game scaling, as see a bit of trading in the bottom lane that's just going to result in some health trade. But this time, instead of the Ornn, they have the Gnar, who is not a slouch in later game team fights, but unfortunately isn't going to be providing your team with just 5,000 free gold starting at level 13.
Yeah, true. Not the same. Not the same spice. Still a version of spice here. I do want to see how PCL can set up the team fights though, because you're looking at that AOE combo from Resolve. It is spicy, and you got to be real careful about the carries of AOE to really dodge out of those setups from Resolve, especially. And when you're looking at that setup, it's APA with those shockwaves on top of a Mega Gnar ulti that I'm looking at.
If you can get that set up, right? But I also worry that Resolve, because we touched on the fact that they don't have a lot of control over when fights start. That's mostly on AoE.
Yeah,
they also have to be very careful, right? Because either APA or Array is probably going to start the fight off, if not dead, then very low, in a very difficult spot for them to actually participate. Now, I also want to call attention to the fact that typically Gnar versus Camille is pretty decent early on in the game, but because Fnatic started topside at the red buff and path towards the bottom lane, PCL has to let this wave come in, and we're looking at Darkwings roaming top lane on a wave 4 dive.
Look at this as well, though. Winter is on the roam here to try and get something for the top lane, try to get a little pressure relief. They realize there could be something happening, and now it is a little bit more even. You have Darkwings going back to mid. RBM still looking for it, though. That sentence is not going to land from Winter, but good eyes from Resolve.
I really like this play coming out from Winter. They both had their supports back away, and it looks like Array and Sketchstream's going to be happy to just bounce waves back and forth, but it does allow PCL to actually survive this early game. This was going to be a very devastating dive if Darkwings had committed to it. So both teams, I mean, we see an early game plan coming out from AoE, but it wasn't something that was strong enough, and I believe it's Smacks who said, if you don't have an early game plan against this team, you're going to be at a stylistic disadvantage. They only get a small CS lead for Faisal right now, but that's not enough to win you a game.
It's definitely not, but it's something to work towards. You do have Fnatic making his way up top this time as PCL does TP to the lane. If Fnatic's able to get anything, you also got to look on the map because RBM is coming back up to the top lane. He will be spotted out in the tri-bush if he decides to walk over there. Does get pinged out as well, but it looks like PCL is just trying to set the bait here.
Neither jungler committing towards the top side, but look at this, Zyko still up in the top lane. Like, supports have just been leaving this bottom lane to its own devices. Fnatic going to be trying to clean up some of these Raptors, but Zyko is here potentially looking for a fight.
He goes for the flash, gets the Zenith Blade as well. Decent amount of damage. Oh, wow. What pillar placement there. Zyko is kind of stuck behind enemy lines here. Just kind of gives up his life as well. Winter is going to get PCL 4 into the fight at least. RBM is dead too. All of a sudden, off of RBM's aggressive play into the enemy jungle, they lose 2 lives.
Right, this is this coordination that a lot of people have been crediting Resolve for. When they're on their game, they are so difficult to fight against because they just have more members. They have the better target selection. Notice that Winter didn't come back to participate in the kill onto Zyko. And up in the top lane, PCL he's now playing manaless champ against Faisal, who has absolutely no mana. It's manaless, but in a very different way, right? He just can't do anything because he has no abilities. PCL can shove it in, and this is a big lead for Resolve, and we've already noted how dangerous they're going to be later in the game.
And very detrimental to the way that AoE wants to play. We talked about it. They need to get off the ground running. They want to take the early game. They want to take control of the game, and that's not how you do it. Giving a couple kills over, and now Fnatic feels liberated to really get around the map and be influential. We do have a dragon on the map. We'll see what happens with that, but here is a replay. Nicely done by observers, by the way. No big deal, but we get to see those 2 bloods going down.
It's just a matter of being a little bit overconfident with your ability to play this, right? PCL is the first one on the rotation. They think that they can go for this fight, but when you're playing this kind of game, you have to be on the same page for all these plays. RBM didn't look like he was ready to commit to that fight, and Zyko said, hey, we're going, and RBM's like, you're going. I'm going to chill out over here. Unfortunately, it took him a bit too long to leave, and they give over 2 kills instead of just the 1. But Resolve, now they have to be very careful because they expended a lot in order to actually pick that up. Fnatic has no flash, and he's potentially attackable soon.
He is. They will start up the dragon down there after having priority in the bot lane. It will help them secure that one. Ooh, Flash actually comes out of PCL, realizing what was about to go down.
Yeah, that's a very standard thing for everybody who's very curious about that. Gnar uses that ultimate in order to push the wave quite a bit. Unfortunately, he was not ready for the counter engage from Faisal. He didn't catch Faisal, he didn't get the stun down, and so they didn't have the damage for any of that. And knowing that RBM is spending a lot of time top lane, doesn't want to give over anything. So I like the sequence from PCL, I just think he missed out on the ultimate.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate, but we'll see if he can get some redemption plays a little bit later on. RBM is taking another aggressive stance here, going for an invade on the red side of Fnatic. Fnatic is not going to go up there just yet. I thought maybe they were going to path across mid and try to catch him out if they knew he was there. Just going to get it back off for the side of Resolve.
Okay, we got Winter up in the top lane once again. Lots of people here. Faisal's around.
Dark Passage is going to get ECL back into the fight, and RBM just has to turn tail and run. The TP is committed as well. And that's a huge commit from Sketch Streams up to the top side.
It feels like AOE have general ideas of how they want to play this early game, right? RBM camps top, you look to dive PCL over and over, but Resolve have very specific ideas of how they want to keep him safe. We're going to rotate Winter up at this time. We're going to move him up so that he doesn't get dove. And this is proving super, super effective because AOE are going for all these half measures.
That is unfortunate as well. Things kind of turning to catastrophe here for AOE. Early flash burn by Sketchstream.
Super responsive once again. Resolve. This is what people are saying, right? You need to have an early game plan against them because Resolve are just so proactive. And I feel like part of this comes down to the fact that they have been feeling very confident recently. We asked them, how come it's so hard to rank you guys? And they said, well, Winter said, earlier we were playing without trust in ourselves. We didn't have the confidence, but now that they've found that again, they're playing without expectations. They're playing one game at a time, and it looks like they have a plan for every single one of those games in the sequence. They're playing super confidently, and even though the gold lead is only about 500, that's still going to be super effective as this game continues to go later because they've managed to pick up both the Herald and the Mountain Dragon, so it should balloon here the next 5 minutes.
And if you do get a lead as Resolve, right, we've already talked about it. It's hard to play against Resolve as the game goes later. We know that from them. That's their style. They like to take control in the late parts of the game. They have great decision making. But you give that lead early to them, it's that much harder to fight for these objectives because of the team comp that they have, right? You get a decent lead on these, you're not able to step up into those moments.
One of the other things that I would like to highlight right now is we kind of highlighted these two teams as one that is a super coordinated, super synergistic composition in Resolve, and AOE is a little bit more focused on individual clutch plays and finding some of these big wins. And we did see Faisal, because of all the attention being paid to his lane earlier from RBM, he did have a much larger CS lead earlier. And in the mid lane, APA has kind of been bullied around a little bit as well. And as we would kind of expect, Syndra has a big advantage in that her Q doesn't root her in place, so she can Q and then move and dodge away from a lot of things that Orianna does all at once. And it's giving them a small advantage, but it's not necessarily ballooning into anything larger. And I feel like AoE's laners need to find a little bit of a larger advantage if they want to actually take this game and really find easy ways into it.
Yeah, there definitely is some paths for it, but they're not going to be easy to find. Sketch Dreams had to use the Mega Inferno Bomb on the wave just to try and get a little bit back from it. They had so much pressure down bot, so many plates taken as well with that Rift Herald.
What do you know?
Hextech Ultimatum with RBM on top of him. PCL's in some trouble, uses the bounce across though. He doesn't have the health bar, and RBM takes him out with the collateral damage.
Nice. I really like this play from AoE to get something back on the map, and we just saw them lose 3 plates in the bottom lane due to the Rift Herald. They're going to be getting at least 2 here up in the top lane and a kill, so this ends up neutralizing a lot of what we saw Resolve build up early, but now they know where jungler is. They're going to go for a dive.
Sketchstreams got baited. Oh, he was left all alone, so you got Darkwings TPing in, but Sketchstreams is already dead. He trades 1, and now Darkwings goes for it. Doesn't get the Scatter of the Week on Array. enough damage to trade something back for AOE. They're sticking in it.
Winter taking a lot of turret shots. Darkwings thinks he can still find something more, but he doesn't have the ultimate available.
Oh no, RBM is caught. RBM is stuck in between in a sticky situation, at least as the top side. He's going to be able to get away. APA does have the shockwave available, and RBM knows, but he gets out the side. Beautifully done.
Okay, everybody dying, everybody backing away right in time for Dragon. It's going to be a couple of seconds late, so they're not going to necessarily control the choke points as well as they might want to initially. But everybody's going to be backing away. Everybody's going to be spending their gold in time to actually come down for this Dragon. And we got to pay attention to who has the spikes already.
And talk about those spikes, I want to talk about some item completions here. Yumu's first item for RBM. I love it. And then you have the Divine Sunder spike for Fnatic. That is huge when we're talking about going into this Dragon fight.
Faisal also very close to Divine Thunderer of his own. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this item not being as good as a lot of people think it is, but he does almost have it completed. But it also looks like AOE are going to be sacrificing this. They aren't playing for the Dragon whatsoever. Sketchstream is already up here in the top lane, and we saw a couple of plates ticking down. Only 2 left in the top lane turret, so this push could very easily result in a turret take coming in for AOE.
And Sketchstreams does have the TP coming up very shortly, so the play I'm guessing would be to try and take this tower, maybe try to get back bot lane, but there's a lot of pressure happening in bot lane right now over there, and we'll see if that play does resolve in anything here as Resolve are moving forward. That's a nice little flay. Zyko goes right back into it, and RBM's doing tons of damage. The Dark Passage gets Fnatic out, but TP has been used by Faisal. Collateral damage not enough. Faisal can't get over the edge. He flashes, still can't get it. Hextech Ultimatum will secure the kill, though, and you get another TP from Sketchstreams. AOE have shown up in force, and Resolve can't handle it. Mega Inferno Bomb just to put the cherry on top, but AOE are going to take the lead.
The punch and counter punch are starting to go a little bit back in AoE's favor. They get the top lane turret, and then they stop the dive in the bottom lane. We are seeing that Resolve, again, it looks like they are typically something we praise them. On the days that they're good, they look super coordinated for these dives, but right now, they're going in a little bit separated, right? Array's not able to hit for this entire fight, and even though Fnatic is around, doesn't have an ultimate available, can't steal all the resistances from Zyko to become insanely tanky, and so Faisal, even though this takes a little bit longer than it probably ought to have, he's able to get so far past that there's no opportunity for them to turn on to him, and instead, all of the members of Resolve just kind of get run down. PCL can't do anything.
And maybe that synergy coming to bite Resolve a little bit too much. They were so committed on trying to save Fnatic, they got stretched out along that entirety of that area, and AOE were able to come cut them in the middle right there. So very good play calling from AOE here to get themselves back in a driving position early on in the game. They did lose that second Dragon, so Dragon stacking, not the way they're going so far, but you can always turn that around. There's so much to be said for these kinds of leads that you're developing. And I'm just going to point out that Yumu start, RBM is doing some serious damage right now, Joshi. Ooh,
oh,
we got
yeah,
mid lane,
really
though.
good.
Oh, no, APA. Okay, that
He's okay.
Yumu's
He's
is
okay.
not going to come out. He's okay. He's going to make it. He's got Winter just holding him right there. He's got his hand on his back.
I really do like this Youmu's coming out from Graves. We can talk about it a little bit more later because it does do a ton of damage. It's relatively cheap, just how this item used to be. But the big thing that we got to pay attention to now is how AoE plays around these dragons. Because a single mountain dragon, I mean, it's the best individual dragon to have statistically. And a cloud dragon, almost irrelevant for this team, to be entirely honest. But the point is, they are halfway to 4. We are all Jin on this blessed day. We are wanting to count to 4, but the thing we got to count is dragons. And AoE, if they can stop them halfway there, you know, this isn't horseshoes. This isn't hand grenades. That's not good enough. You got to get the last 2 dragons. And AoE, as they start to become more and more powerful, as they start to actually contest these dragons and control these choke points, it's going to be much more difficult for Resolve to do anything about it because they don't have the greatest engage tools like we touched on earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something we've got to keep an eye on as we go further on. I do also want to point out that Array has completed an Eclipse on the Varus. Appreciate that one. It's going to be interesting how those fights kind of turn out and how much damage he's able to pull off. Ooh, Death Sentence barely goes wide there for Winter. RBM using some confidence. Chains of Corruption comes out. He uses collateral damage to get some space. Zyko stops Fnatic, but RBM, you don't have a health bar anymore. And Fnatic picks up a kill. Can they get a second? A double for the Trundle. Faisal does go in, tries to get a little bit more. Sketchstreams flashes forward, and there's the 1v1 on the side. It's gonna be APA all day long, baby. Array is still here. Fnatic goes down. It is chaos across the board, and Array flashes away. One more auto would do it. No, it's the piercing arrow that's gonna pierce Faisal's heart. Jeez,
What an
that fight was
absolutely
insane.
nuts fight. All over the place. So we're going to have to look at a replay because I was just watching APA's duel with Darkwings that entire time, and dodging almost every single ability gives him a win in a disadvantageous position. And PCL this entire time, he's not there. He's just taking this turret. They're going to find it, but it all starts off, right, with just this chain of corruption. The only way they can consistently get these fights started, RBM gets caught. Yes, he's got a lot of movement speed, but he doesn't have any dashes left. He can't get out, and Trundle is going to be able to get enough damage through. And ultimately, because this fight is so chaotic, I would typically look at this kind of thing being something that's good for AoE, but they're just not able to outfight. They're not able to use the terrain to their advantage as consistently. And Faisal, he's very strong at this point with an item completion, but he's just getting outranged by so many members coming in. Array keeps his distance perfectly, and Faisal can't kill him.
I just got to shout out one last time that it feels so bad for Darkwings there. He got the jump on APA on the start of that fight. Then it turned into that 1v1. And Darkwings just uses everything and is only left with auto attacks while APA has his full kit still available to him. It feels bad. It was so close yet so far. But it turns Resolve around here. Now they're looking at their third dragon of the game.
And they're here way earlier, right? Darkwings is not going to be able to contest for this. They're trying to get a counter push in mid.
Connected again. Winter goes in, but he gets solar flared right up, and Zyko is there to follow it up. He might need to get away, though. A lot of damage coming from Array and PCL there, but it's still a dragon pickup for Resolve.
PCL creep blocked a little bit there. That could have been a lot worse for AoE, but this is what we're saying, right? AoE need to be able to start contesting these dragons. Ocean Soul is insane for Resolve in this game if they can pick it up. And now, Winter charging ahead with APA looking for a potential fight onto Faisal.
APA a little bit caught there. Takes some damage. Not a lot, though. They were going to potentially, if he was a little bit overextended, go for that one, but it is the backup from Resolve that signals not to go for that. APA just taking a pretty aggressive path away there. Luckily, he was on the right timing, though. It's all calm, cool, and calculated.
He's all cool. He's not worried about it whatsoever, but this is an opportunity right now. There should be a mid lane turret going down. You got a Herald, you got a Ziggs. Both these things are great for taking down all these structures. And as they continue to push through, we'll see if they're able to get a crash onto another turret, or if it's just going to end here with the first one. Doesn't look like they feel strong enough to go for the continued push, and PCL filling off on the side, but not going to be committing to try and find a fight yet.
Cheeky little chains of corruption there from Array, just in case Sketchtrees want to step up with the satchel, just in case. But it's not going to find it. Now we are going to turn our attention towards the top side where Resolve is fighting for vision, at least trying to get set up around the Baron pit here, just to make sure they have vision around there. But they've, still in the deficit here. And that's something I can applaud AoE for, is they've been able to keep themselves in the game. It's not that early advantage that we wanted. They have been losing some pressure around the map, but they still have kill potential, and they still have what they set out with in their composition. It's kill, kill, kill.
Kill, kill, kill. They are slightly behind in kills, though, right now. But the big thing that you got to pay attention to, again, is where those kills are going. It looks like PCL building towards an old Black Cleaver. That is, in fact, his own Divine Sunder. Again, got thoughts about this item. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people are making it out to be, but it is the choice that they are going to be making here, giving you the extra on-hit damage. And now Faisal, very strong relative to PCL, looking for an opportunity to jump on him.
He's just going to go for the Hextech Ultimatum. The poor bounce doesn't get him out. Faisal under tower, taking a lot of damage there. PCL is going to have the Meganar as well on the backside. The Meganar ulti, is he going to turn it around? Oh, he steps out of the Mega Inferno Bomb, though. No help today, but Faisal survived.
Oh gosh, man. It's just a testament to how far ahead Faisal is at this point, that the fact that he misses the hook shot on the wall doesn't result in him dying, right?
Yeah.
He has got so much more money than Gnar at this point. Gnar doesn't have the Divine Cinder completed, so he's not able to find the kill. But if that's what we're looking at later on, that's one of the big ways that Resolve stays in this game, is if Faisal can't continue to push around the Gnar, because this is when Camille's supposed to get stronger and stronger and supposed to start outpacing the Gnar. This is why this matchup gets picked a lot, because typically it's not great for Camille in lane, but this is a spot where PCL showing his resiliency.
He definitely is. And something else, you've got to give it up for the resiliency Resolve has shown in this game, right? They have been at a deficit, but they've been able to get these objectives, kind of like what I was talking about with AoE, where they are still able to find things even though they're losing objectives. So both these teams still putting up the good fight here. The only thing that I'm worried about is you're on a timer at this point for this soul, for the Elder Dragon to start spawning for Resolve. And they've had very, very good objective control so far so long. And they're getting to those 2 item spikes and it's very scary, as we
Oh,
highlighted
PCL.
earlier, to take into those fights.
Okay, PCL just went mini. He's got a lot of members of
Oh
AOE around him.
no, yeah, he does. He's gonna be taken out. There's a shotgun. There's a lady with blades for legs, and somebody who's just gonna blind you all day long. Faisal does take the kill.
It's going to be an easy one right there. 4th kill of the game coming out for Faisal, and luckily for Resolve, it is far enough ahead of this dragon that PCL is going to be up. He won't have his flash for the reposition during the fights, but he will have his life. He should have enough time to build up a Narbar, so Resolve can still look to play for this, but it is going to be putting them on the back foot for a little while. Will likely lose a lot of their Baron vision, and I don't think there's a lot to say here. He's unfortunately just got too many people. Right, Faisal is here. This is already a bad spot, and then you realize, oh, here. Well,
There's more.
there's more.
Oh man,
It's like
there's
a bad
more
game
people.
show. But
It
wait,
really
there's
is.
more. What's behind door number 2?
Oh no, it's just somebody else
It's a
beating
grave.
you up. That's terrible. That sounds like an awful game show. Don't ever sign. They've got to stop this dragon stacking from Resolve. They've got to stop this Ocean Soul for Resolve.
See what they can do. We are going to see they have to fight for this mid priority here in a second, but they're already getting a push in the bottom lane for AOE and a push in the top lane for Resolve, and whoever can control these chokes will be in a huge advantage. Darkwings can be the first one to get the push in the mid lane, and that's going to be helping them out quite a bit because they will force Resolve to give up a little bit of position for this dragon. But it doesn't look like they're actually pushing for it. PCL does almost have a bar ready, so we're going to see this poke war evolve between Varus and Ziggs, and Ziggs usually wins that.
Faisal is slowly but surely trying to get a little bit
Oh!
of flank here. Oh my god, but the scat of the week back. Solar
Oh.
Flare is extinguished. So Zyko doesn't have a huge engage for AoE.
RBM.
Now they're going to find RBM on the side. Faisal's just like, peace out, see you later. RBM is down.
Wow, that was actually crazy. Okay, there's still an opportunity for a fight. Lots of ultimates are already expended, so we'll see how Faisal wants to play this. They just need to wait for PCL to lose the rage, and now we're going to get a fight, but there's no smite for AoE.
There's no smite. It's so difficult here. Zyko just goes in. We got Dark Wings in there as well, but it doesn't matter. It's so split. The smite
It's
comes
over.
out. The soul is taken, and Resolve are going to show forth as Dark Wings has to run away. Zyko is running for his life. Nice scat of the week back, but it does not matter. You've already lost the objective, and that's 4 straight dragons for Resolve. And Dark Wings is definitely going to die.
Yep, Winter gonna... Oh, not gonna land the
No,
death sentence.
he's too
Okay.
good. APA wants it. He's like, I don't know if I should chase that one.
All right, okay. Good job, Darkwings, getting out of that one alive. But at this point, Resolve, even though the gold lead is basically nothing, I've had a lot of conversations. People's like, how much of a gold lead do you need to have to be even against a team with a soul? And most of the time, I've been hearing answers ranging from 4,000 to 6,000, right? Valuing this soul at about 4,000 to 6,000 gold. This is a lot of money, and it really comes down to the fact that AoE are a little bit split here. It doesn't look like they have an immediate plan. Like RBM just ends up getting caught. You saw that Sketchstream just kind of got caught from the shockwave. They aren't in a spot where they're necessarily getting quote-unquote engaged upon. They're just standing too far forward, and it's going to be resulting in Resolve finding an opportunity for these fights. And with no smite available, you have to try and burst Fnatic before the dragon goes down, and unfortunately, they're just not able to do that.
Yeah, Zenith Blade doesn't connect, and they just try, but he's just waiting for the health bar there, knowing there's nobody else that can smite it. It's almost impossible to take. And unfortunately there for RBM, he just kind of steps up into PCL, who had that Mega Gnar bar full and ready to go. Faisal was on the side, so I'm wondering what the communication was there, if RBM thought maybe they were going to try to go for something. But that's that kind of communication that rings true for Resolve, where we need to see that kind of pick up for AoE.
Yeah, this game, you know, it's not over just quite yet coming out for AoE. They still have Ziggs, they still have Syndra.
They're in the gold lead still.
Yeah, they still have a gold lead, but against an Ocean Soul, they're not going to be winning a lot of fights. They have to be winning a lot of these picks. They have to be looking for ways to play the side lanes, and you know, they can stall out the game quite a bit, right? They have a lot of wave clear that they can play with. Graves, Ziggs, Syndra all do a great job here, and in 4 minutes they can flip for an Elder Dragon, and that's not a lot of time for Resolve to clear out this entire game, right? And clear out all of the turrets they have yet to pick up. So it's a very tough spot for AoE, and Resolve, we know, gets stronger and stronger, but every single game, Elder's the great equalizer. You can be down this far, and it's not going to matter if AoE are able to pick it up. So I feel like, you know, Resolve now have to show why we've been praising them for their later games.
You've got to show that concise play in the later parts, especially when you're going up against a split pushing Faisal on the Camille, who is so strong. You also, one thing I want to point out now is that Eclipse has been completed for RBM, so he's on a pretty big spike now as well, in the 2-item spike for Graves. So I want to see how they utilize that here. You do have a Baron up. I'm not necessarily saying that Baron is on the table right now, but a bait potential is there if they want to try to take a play, if they want to try to use the spike. But it's so hard, as we've said over and over again, to go up against this team fight against Resolve.
I feel like we saw a couple times earlier where both Zyko and RBM going down bottom lane in order to try and push PCL around and find a couple of kills, and they did get it earlier, but it wasn't in a position where Resolve were yet ready to start hitting this Baron. Now, we also have to note that this Baron that they're doing is not super quickly, but it is super healthy, right? They have the Ocean Dragon, which procs against the Baron, and that does mean that basically everybody's going to be full health the entire time that they're doing it. But even if they go down for PCL and they do it with a couple of teleports, like if it's Darkwings and Sketch Dreams that go down there, it's possible that they just kill PCL outright and then have an opportunity to teleport to prevent the Baron take from actually going through. And instead, who needs that?
Yeah, and I love that little play there, using APA to scout out the bush, just make sure have the Dark Passage there available for Winter. They're starting it up. And you do have the members of AOE around this corner, right? You don't have Faisal here. He does have TP available to him. But Resolve, no. This is what they've been baiting the entire time. And RBM has sprung the trap, and he's dead.
Oh, no. RBM going to be in a very bad spot. Good luck. It stops a lot of the damage coming through. And, oh, PCL not going to find anything there.
Just wanted to use it.
He just wanted to use it. He wants to be part of this team fight, too. I'm a little bit surprised they're not hitting this Baron just quite yet. It feels like a situation where they could try with all the ultimates already
they're
down
losing
from
their
AOE.
mid lane.
I'll do something. What are you up to, Resolve?
I know. I mean, they had the play there, but now Resolve are getting punished here with a decent amount of damage done by Faisal in the mid lane.
Okay. Well, RBM is still dead, and Resolve can come out. It's going to take RBM a little bit too long to get to the Baron right away, but hey, we've chewed up 3 minutes of the Elder Dragon timer, and now we're looking at another situation where we're going to be flipping a dragon off of a smite. You know, we changed this a long time ago. The level difference doesn't matter between the junglers. They both do 900 damage with their smites, and Ziggs does quite a bit. Varus can do a lot. The Shockwave can steal this dragon, right? There's a lot of options for both these teams to try and burst out the Elder, so I feel like we're realistically looking at a flip if Resolve can't protect the dragon.
It's going to be really difficult here. I do want to say that it looks a little bit more dicey for the side of AOE when you're coming into this. Things have now evened up in the gold. That 1,000 gold lead is no longer in AOE's favor. But a pick like this is how you change the game, how you change it all around. And PCL having no Mega Gnar bar just goes down to RBM. That is huge for the setup.
Yeah, 20 seconds left until the Elder Dragon. This is a huge win coming out from AOE. Now they're the ones who are going to be threatening this, but AOE and Resolve don't have to handshake this fight over the Elder Dragon. Resolve can choose to just go hit the Baron, but instead, they're looking to try and contest this. They want to take this coin flip.
They want to fight it. You had the TP from Sketch Dreams to the other side of the map just to make sure he didn't have to walk through any trouble. Zyko goes in, misses though, as the Shockwave is going to connect onto him. Zyko's dead. There's a main frontliner. Collateral damage goes out from RBM, but not going to find anything there. The Dragon is still started up by AOE. It is an even fight right now. 4v4. Faisal goes in, finds APA, goes golden to buy some time. Scatter the Weak comes out, but Faisal's in some trouble here. Now you got the TP coming from PCL, and it's an uneven fight now because Zyko is still dead and has no way to join the fight. This is a big turning moment for Resolve. The Dragon's still under pressure here. 6,000 health is the Elder Dragon.
Oh, boy.
Big damage from Darkwings. RBM waiting over the side. This is it. This is a big moment for RBM. Can he show off his skills? PCL's going to have the Mega Gnar ult, though, and you've got to be careful of it. RBM's in the pit, but he doesn't get it. Fnatic secures the Elder Dragon, and the fight goes to Resolve.
Wow, again, a crazy situation where Resolve are able to wait it out. Remember, this is what we're praising Resolve for, their ability to be on the same page for these fights. What we saw, AOE weren't on the same page. Faisal goes in, Zyko goes in, they go in at different times. It's not a coordinated team fight, and they don't end up using the Mega Inferno Bomb to its maximum effectiveness. Now APA can just chill around, blow up anybody who walks over it, and Resolve should finally be able to pick up this Elder Dragon, finally be able to pick up this Baron, and now with the Ocean Soul, the Baron buff, and the Elder Dragon, it should be almost impossible for AOE to try and bring this game back.
There goes the Baron. RBM is just here in the nick of time, but can't get into the pit. and that will be another big objective secured by Resolve. They've only lost one Rift Herald all game. That is how you dominate in a Summoner's Rift matchup there. They have completely controlled the map.
They've controlled the map, but it is still a kind of a dangerous situation. We can see this, right? Like, Faisal is not in this fight. Zyko just went in by themselves, and Resolve, they just know they need to wait. They know Gnar's coming up here in a couple of seconds. As long as this Dragon isn't at risk of being burned, they don't have to do anything. They are just willing to wait. They let Faisal come in, and look, Sketch Dreams can't do anything. RBM can't do anything. This Dragon doesn't go below 7,000 HP during this entire sequence of events, and Resolve happy to wait it out. AOE were the ones that needed to push the tempo. They weren't able to do so, and Resolve are going to be the big beneficiaries of this just because they're able to burst it faster.
RBM tries to get into the pit. I was waiting to see if PCL was going to wait with the Mega Gnar on the other side, but RBM does get in the pit just a little bit too late, and then PCL finds the beautiful engage with the Elder Dragon wings, and that's how you turn a fight.
All right, well, again, we do have to say there's a lot of work that Resolve still needs to do. They need to take down these structures. They are now pressuring both the mid lane and the bottom lane. PCL just backed away in order to try and deal with Faisal. He should finally be stronger again with the Elder Dragon, but it is a very dangerous spot for the rest of his team. While he's not there without the teleport, Faisal can always come through looking for a flank, and with only about 10 seconds left on the Elder Dragon, it's going to be a real opportunity for AOE to try and find a fight.
Faisal has put on so much pressure in the side lanes. Honestly, this Camille has been so impressive to deal with, or scary to deal with, but impressive in its own right. And the fact that during this Baron push, you're still able to secure some global gold for yourselves. You still need to make sure you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's, get back to the base, not losing any inhibs, but you've got to find those little moments to get something back. And I feel like Faisal has done a really incredible job at that this game.
Really has. Now, AOE have done a good job as well. Oh, big shockwave. Not going to find a kill just quite yet, but they are stalling out both these major buffs. And now RBM going into a bad spot.
Oh, man. Zyko, yeah, RBM's just dead. Zyko almost gets two-shot by a Ray, and they're just going to lose their towers. I said you can't lose your inhib towers. Well, they're losing two of them now, and they're also getting worked on at the top side by PCL.
And the last two waves, they come into a good spot. APA.
Faisal does find it. Fnatic looks for the re-engage there, but now you've got to deal with Array, and Array has some serious damage. Faisal's still strong, though. Faisal's still damaging, but he can't do it. He can't find the kills, and Zyko goes down as well. PCL has just been free pushing this entire time on the top side.
This is the last of the Baron buff. Are they going to be able to pick up this inhib? Do they get anything? Faisal goes in.
He does. He can't find it on Array, but Array still dies. That's going to be a kill going over to Sketch Dreams, and Resolve have to get out of base.
Okay, so let's keep track of everything Resolve were able to just pick up in this Baron. They were able to get 3 inhibitor turrets. They were able to get 3 inner turrets. They were able to get the outer turret from AoE's mid lane. So that's 7 turrets all at once, and suddenly a ballooning gold lead. 5,000 gold. They were down about 1,000 before this whole sequence started. Now they are firmly in control of everything, but they also have, with no inhibitors down, they have a minute and a half left to go before they have to flip for the Elder again.
And that's not a position you want to be in. You know how it went last time around. You just got to make sure you're all in the right position. You're all communicating so that catch-outs don't happen. One of the big things for AoE last time around was the catch-out, though, in the side lane onto PCL, and how can that influence them this time around? Can they find a catch like that early on and influence the fight? Because when you're taking a full 5v5, it is no longer even. The gold lead has gone fully into Resolve's favor.
We'll see. Now, I'm really curious how RBM ends up getting caught out here, because he goes in, he thinks he found Winter, and he does a lot of damage. Oh, he just gets caught by the chain of corruption. He doesn't have options. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. No good options, 1 rock, 1 hard place, and it does mean that 3 inhibitor turrets end up going down for Resolve. But they're a little bit split, right? They're not able to find a game-ending fight all at once. You find this, like, 2-man situation where Resolve kind of get caught out. Resolve try and bring everybody over, and they get a little bit back, but it's not necessarily the back-breaking situation where if they had picked up all of these inhibitors, this game would have absolutely been. So Resolve, very dominant position, and they're showing a lot of resiliency in the second half of this game. Now, they still have to do the last couple of steps in order to close it out. 30 seconds, still Elder.
They do. Here's a catch-out, though. They have found RBM yet again. Feels like the name of the game. They can't get the kill this time around, though. PCL is looking for it onto Dark Wings. Almost gets the piercing arrow as well. That was super close. But Resolve get out with almost catching the entire team of AoE. Now they can turn back on their real prize, which is the second Elder Dragon of the game.
Remember, though, this isn't horseshoes or hand grenades. Almost is not good enough. Everybody is still alive now. They might try and find some of these people who just teleported.
They want to go for the picks. They just want to go for the picks. They don't care about
PCL!
it. PCL gets stunned back. PCL is going to go down. Sketch Dreams is on a rampage. Faisal finds AP on the side. AOE have turned it all the way around. A-Array is down as well. That's 3 back-to-back kills for AOE, who tie up the kills in the game and might be looking for more. Fnatic is taken out by Faisal here. Tons of damage from the Camille, but Fnatic's pretty strong in his own right. Gonna take a decent amount of time, slowly but surely. Can he get it? Looks like Fnatic's gonna make it away.
I can't believe the thing that we said in draft is going to come back to hurt Resolve this much. Remember what I said about this composition? It doesn't have control over when fights start. It doesn't have opportunities to get these fights started, and so everybody with these secondary engage tools need to rely on AoE making mistakes, but when they don't make mistakes, they have to overextend in order to try and get these fights to happen. You saw PCL, how far forward he had to go. You saw APA flashing earlier to try and find RBM. The only reason why some of these fights have been going their way is because people on AoE have been standing on top of APA's Shockwave, and suddenly when they don't do that, AoE is able to turn these fights around. They get the Elder Dragon, they get the Baron buff, and all of their inhibitors never died. So AoE, we just saw a huge situation of a gold lead coming out from Resolve. It's going to flip right on back there, right on back to even, and with the Elder Dragon and the Baron buff, AoE are now in the driver's seat for the first time in 30 minutes.
That's insane. We talked about earlier. They had one objective all game long. Now they just get back-to-back huge objectives in the Baron, in the second Elder Dragon. They have everything they can ask for now. Now it's all about execution. How can they take the next fights? How can they proceed here with their base shattered? And it's looking like a mid-lane play.
They have the tools, they have poke, they have the zigs, they have a lot of things that they can throw. They also have the engage tools. They're the ones who control when fights start. They have a minute left, a little bit more on this Elder Dragon, so they are very strong for a little while. PCL doesn't have a rage bar just quite yet, so AoE might just be looking to go.
They are going for the mid inhib here. They will take out the mid inhib and potentially proceed into the Nexus Towers. This is huge. Resolve, they have shown so much strength all game long, but AoE has them on the ropes here with Baroned up minions, with an Elder Dragon force. They need to find something here. Resolve need to stick true to what we've seen them be able to do. Meganar is going to be popped. The Elder Dragon not going to go off there. You do still have a lot of tools available for Resolve, although the Shockwave and the Chains of Corruption are going to be down. The Meganar ulti is still there. One Nexus Tower falls, but AoE get caught. That's Dark Wings! Dark Wings! He doesn't get dead! Faisal is on the back here, and PCL gets out with a sliver of his life. How has this happened? AoE just get 2 drop.
Oh no, they never pulled the trigger. Now they're the ones who have to run. TP bottom lane!
They're going for the
base race here.
That's huge. You've got APA in the side lane with PCL down there. Double TP and AoE are frightened here. They need to find a response because they're about to get pushed into their base. RBM is going to make it out here. Baroned up buffs are going to help them get back in time, but is it going to be enough? You've got the rest of Resolve pushing down mid lane as well.
Oh my god. Okay, this is a situation. You got 30 seconds left before Faisal and Sketch Dreams. Resolve are barreling down in the mid lane. They have 3 members coming up, PCL and APA. They can't get too far ahead of the team, but they're already starting to hit this inhibitor. They won't have a bar from Gnar by the time this fight actually starts, and only 12 seconds left before Sketch Dream comes up. The Baron is still around. How is this game going to end?
They were knocking on the door of Resolve, but a Resolve say no way. They take it right back to the AoE base. They're wiping the floor with them, and Resolve takes game number 1.
Lennon, I don't know if I can take it. That was game 1 today. That was game 1 between these two teams. We saw Resolve had such a strong play. They were able to get all of the objectives, and then one misstep almost cost them the game. But they're still able to pull it out at the very end. Clutch hook coming in from Winter. They find the engage they needed, and that was without the Shockwave. That was without the bar coming in from Gnar. They were able to find these teamfight wins even without all the resources they normally need.
I've lost for words here. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. This is Proving Grounds. This is the moment to show up. They were both so close to winning this game. The fact that AOE stuck in it, and we're literally one Nexus tower from open hitting the Nexus of Resolve, and then just one fight later, it's all said and done, and Resolve win it. I can't wait. We've still got a long day of games ahead of us, but this is a heck of a way to start us off, Joshi. Now, it's been a fun one. We got to take a little break here. We're going to step away. We'll be right back with game number 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS Summer Proving Grounds round number 2 losers bracket matchup between Resolve and AOE. I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi yet again. And what an insane first game we had on our hands. I'm going to let you take it away after that one.
Honestly, we got to see all kinds of things highlighted during this game, right? We got to see people trying to gank for RBM rather than the other way around, right? Like, here's Zyko up in the top lane that already kind of set the pace for how a lot of this game was going to go. We were looking at this, we were highlighting that RBM is not necessarily the one who ganks for his laners, but instead allows his laners to gank him to try and shut down the enemy jungler, whereas Fnatic, much more selfless, right? He's able to move around, he's looking to set things up for the other side of the map, and we saw him actually look to dive bottom lane like 3-4 times just because he was always looking to proactively set things up in order to get Resolve ahead.
And, you know, that early proactivity was huge, but Resolve were able to respond, as we saw in that one. A little bit of miscommunication, I feel like, with AOE. Ended up in 2 early kills for Resolve. This was a good bounce back for AOE when they were able to get top lane pressure. But from then on, it just felt like Resolve had a grip of the map and didn't let go.
I feel like a lot of it comes down to the fact that AoE weren't necessarily respecting the tools that Resolve did have, right? We already highlighted they really only have Chain of Corruption as an easy way for them to get these fights started, right? Death Sentence is not bad, but doesn't have the same kind of AoE implications, haha, get it, because AoE, as like the Chain of Corruptions does. And a lot of times we were seeing people stand on top of shockwaves, get themselves in spots where Gnar could just jump on them individually, and I kind of have to highlight RBM here as one of the prime ways that Resolve was able to find advantages. They kept finding him in unfortunate positions and at the worst times. It feels like every time RBM died, it resulted in a major objective going in favor of Resolve.
And which is not representative of what RBM has shown us to this point, right? This guy has been a crucial piece to the puzzle for AOE and the way that they're really able to find wins. It is off the back of RBM. Like you said, they play around him. And to have this kind of performance to kick us off is not the way you want to start it off. So I'm expecting a big bounce back from RBM. He is not the type of player to just go quietly into the night, especially against Fnatic. I feel like this second game is going to be a real telltale tale for him.
I have to like call back to what I first remember hearing about RBM a long time ago, right? One of the things that we originally saw was there was a point at which he was like, I'm not sure I want to continue playing amateur, right? But the thing that drove him to continue playing was I want to hear Captain Flowers say really big meme on broadcast in order to refer to me. And now he's continuing to play here in Proving Grounds months later. And I feel like that's the kind of mentality that you have to have as these kind of players. Like, no, I just want them to be shouting my name in highlights. So Lennon, he's going to be looking for some way to get the RBM coming out from you later today. And that's what he needs to do in order to continue playing this tournament.
Indeed. And that's what I love about both these stories, right? Both teams are striving for views, for being seen, right? Being shown how good they are to the audience, to the scouts, to everybody who's watching, to make it to that next level. Every single one of these players just about wants to get to that academy level. It's one of the things that comes up in conversation every single time. To go out 2-0 in your knockout match is not the way, right? And we know that AOE are not going to let that go down. And that being said, I want to transition that into this conversation where this is potentially AOE's last match in Proving Grounds, right? If Resolve can come out and prove how strong they've been in the late game and secure that second win, AOE's done. They're not going to be able to show these scouts any longer.
That's a pretty big downside, right? But I feel like they've also kind of made a name. A lot of the players, again, we talked to them earlier saying that they weren't necessarily satisfied with how they've been performing thus far, and this is the opportunity to strike it back, right? This could be their last opportunity to do so. You have to find ways to exploit some of Resolve's early game, and we saw that Resolve had very good ways to stifle a lot of the plays that AoE was looking to make top lane. Maybe you switch up the play, you look bottom lane, try and attack the fact that if Winter's going to be topside so much, that means he's not bottom lane, right?
Yeah.
Go kill a right.
Exactly. Change up that gameplay just a little bit. Something that isn't going to be changing, we can dive into that a little bit more, is the fact that AoE are going to stay on blue side. So we get to talk about that a little bit more, and the fact that they feel comfortable on that side. They feel like they can get picks that excel for them. And I want to see mostly what RBM is going to be looking at here, because as I said before, right, like, and I hate to put more onus on it, but this guy is the star of the team. And yes, there are other pieces that really show out and can help, but it's what you can get for RBM and how that kind of succeeds for him. We'll have to see on the other side of this break, though, Joshi. We're going to send it to a short little ad break, but we'll be right back with draft for game number 2 of this best of 3. Welcome back, everyone. Now the time that we've been waiting for. We're going to be diving straight into the drafts, the picks and bans for game number 2, a deciding match in this best of 3 series between Resolve and AOE Esports.
Honestly, I'm really excited to see what it is that AOE is going to be doing. We saw a lot of pieces that worked well individually, but didn't necessarily come together for the game that they were looking to actually find up against Resolve, and I feel like a lot of it can be chalked up to execution issues, and I'm curious to see if AOE would just want to run it back.
Hey, running it back can work out if you get some of those executions down earlier on. Still a little worried about the overall team fight that Resolve was able to put together with their composition, so I think that's something we got to look out for, as those objectives came few and far between for AOE, except for that last moment where they were able to take 2 back-to-back. But now we got to talk about these bans. We have TF, Ziggs banned away against APA, huge bans against them. On the other side, more mid lane bans in the Rise and the LeBlanc.
I also have to note that it was Sketch Streams that was playing the Ziggs last time around, so AOE are taking that away, and I know the members of Resolve were kind of saying that Sketch Streams is one of the scarier members of the team on AOE, a lot of individually mechanically talented players, but now that he's off the Ziggs, he's going to have an opportunity to show off a little bit more of the mechanics that we know a lot of these marksman players for, because they're actually going to be auto-attack.
Yeah, for once we actually get that. I gotta say, it makes my heart happy as an ADC main. Stick true is strong. Anyways, we do have first pick coming up for AOE. There's a lot left on the table here because of the bans we see. It is actually going to be the Thresh scooped away from Resolve this time around.
Yeah, and we have to do note that this is the Renekton pre-nerf, right? It's not going to get the really shortened stun duration on the empowered stun, so it does mean that it is going to be much more playable, especially in the competitive scene, than it is in solo queue, and instead, they're going to be pivoting very heavily. This is Fnatic's other most played jungler, with Trindle also being up there, and again, he plays it in a much more supportive way, not the full-on tank like I believe SOFM has done historically, but definitely going to be much more focused on getting other members of the team set up.
Yeah, and sticking to comfort, right, for the side of Resolve, they're able to get the Varus as well for Array.
Wow.
There's their other little bit of auto-attacking there. Insta lock-in as the Jinx comes in, as well as the Azir.
That was a very fast couple of picks coming through from Area of Effect, and they are both very long-range auto attackers, right? You have both the Jinx and the Azir. Hold on, he hasn't locked it in yet.
I've casted APA for a lot of games, right? And I gotta say, I've seen a huge percentage of his Aurelion Souls. It feels like almost every time I cast, I at least get to see it once. So I'm hoping maybe it makes its way through here, but PCL is gonna be picking up the Camille this time around, taking the other side of the matchup.
Yeah, it's not too late. It's still possible if we go to a game 3, and it could even be picked up here if AoE don't ban it away, but the Galio taken away, and remember, Resolve need to find ways to actually get to the backline of AoE. Jinx Azir is very difficult to deal with for a lot of teams, just because of how much range it's actually playing with, and Camille Galio, one of the classic combinations. There's a lot of other tools that you can kind of pick up, but they're kind of hard to pick from the mid lane, especially with APA's champion pool.
Yeah, they definitely are. That's where everything gets scary. And that's one of the things that I loved about Darkwings is, like, the guy's got an interesting champion pool, because when I was talking about how that APA matchup is going to feel out for him, didn't really have any other thoughts beside that, and that he was going to win. So, hey, here's the time for you to show up as the Azir, something you've been able, to pilot a decent amount through Proving Grounds, getting a little bit of comfort for yourself. So I want to talk about some of these bans, though, in the second phase. Did you see the Ornn and the Renekton banned away by Resolve? It is the Xerath and Galio banned away by AoE. Some niche picks coming off the board. And Syndra is the lock-in for Resolve.
I do like the Syndra, simply because it is able to kind of bully the Azir a little bit early on, but it does have a significant range disadvantage, so it relies on playing in the Fog of War a bit later. And while it does have some great teamfight tools, if you get the ultimate into the Scatter of the Weak, it's not necessarily always going to have access to Jinx and the Azir. And so the Jarvan coming through, while it's not typically one of my favorite champions, it definitely creates a lot of barriers from Resolve, where if they can't ever threaten the Jinx and Azir, it kind of doesn't matter if the Jarvan just goes in and dies, because he's already done his job. So I really like it here in this composition specifically.
There's going to be a very split line for the side of Resolve. You got the one side, the people who can get out of the Cataclysm. On the other side, the people who cannot move out of the Cataclysm without a flash. I like it. We'll see. It is the Shen locked in for AoE. They've got such good setup for themselves here. But something else that I want to talk about a little bit more is this setup for Resolve, where they're going to look for this last pick and what kind of buffering are they going to give themselves, because they don't necessarily have a lot of that besides the Dragon Rage kick from PCL or from Fnatic.
Okay. All right. Yeah. They do now
There
have the Rakan, and when they hovered the Braum, I was like, oh no, that's going to be really hard to actually do anything with. But the Rakan is going to have the tools necessary to actually get into the backline, and suddenly all the tools from Resolve seem like they've come together. You have a number of divers, you have a number of people who are going to be doing damage, and AOE doesn't have a really credible backline threat, right? Like Jarvan goes in, he locks a bunch of people down, but Jarvan and Shen, if they get ahead, they can be big threats to both the Syndra and the Varus, but these two backliners together kite together so well. They have stuns, they have roots, they have damage, they have a lot that they can use to keep Shen and Jarvan at bay. So after the Cataclysm goes down, that's really about it. You got to get them in the initial burst, because if you don't do that, it's going to be very difficult for AoE to actually threaten Resolve's backline.
And I'm so interested in this draft from AOE. Coming from a lot of the players, right? It's a lot about, who shows up on the day. There's no real big, huge gaps between the two. It's draft and who shows up, right? This time around, I feel like AOE are going a little bit away from their tried and true. RBM on the J4. Yes, you can get Snowball. You can get really strong as a J4, but it's more of a supportive pick for the Azir and for the Jinx. So they're putting all their eggs into the carry basket of Dark Wings and Sketch Dreams. They got to lay it all on the line here.
I play a lot with my good buddy Mark Rafa Alexander Arambide, or however, whatever order he wants to say all of his minion names. And then I got another good friend, Utility Monster. They are both big connoisseurs of the Lethality Jarvan, which will have a lot of credible backline threat, but we'll see if RBM wants to go for that and instead just go for the more traditional Gore Drinker Sterix in order to keep himself alive for a long period of time. But I think we are in for one crazy violent game between these two teams, and we saw a lot of violence last game. This one's going to turn it up to 11.
And hey, he went with the lethality Graves last time around too. So we'll see what happens. We do got to step away for a little break while we get loaded onto Summoner's Rift. Do not touch that browser. Resolve versus AOE, game number 2 up next. Into Summoner's Rift we go. One of these teams with their backs up against the wall. AOE threatened by Resolve to be kicked out of the Proving Grounds. This is the moment. You've got to extend the series. Resolve versus AOE. Game number 2 starts now.
We're seeing a very different opening from this one, Lennon. We're not seeing AoE going for this crazy topside play. Instead, just scouting out, going to try and get some vision down. And I mean, you have to pay attention to the fact that RBM doesn't really actually have a single ability at level 1, right? He's got an attack speed buff that does like 50 damage, maybe, if we're being generous. He doesn't really have a strong level 1, so he can't really be super aggressive. And right as I say that, I mean, he's poking out Fnatic a little bit. It's going to take some damage right in return, and both of them probably just going to place a ward and call it quits.
I love that the first part that we're getting is this mid lane tussle. Both games already, AoE has been looking for those early advantages. Didn't come to fruition last time around. This time, get a little bit of poke, but nothing really going to happen. The big thing I do want to point out here is we are getting a bit of a different start this time around. Both junglers are going to be starting on the top side of the map, maybe potentially looking and setting their eyes towards the bot.
Very true. We are going to be seeing both of the junglers. It looks like PCL got to see that Faisal and RBM are here on the blue buff, and of course, Fnatic is visible on that ward up in the top side. So both these junglers know exactly where the other one is, and it does mean that we are potentially in a situation, as you said, where we're going to get a scuffle in the bottom half of the map here in about a minute and a half. But Fnatic already cheating towards the bottom side, skipping his top lane camps.
That's something that's super important here, and I always love to see how unique these paths can get with the Lee Sin, and especially Fnatic here piloting it. One of RBM's main champions, right? Something we've seen RBM perform so many times on, and he's taking it this time around. He's piloting the champion. We'll see if he can get this bot lane dive off as well, or at least gank off early. But what is the response from RBM? How do you see that aggression? Because last game, he was taking invades constantly when he could, and every time they had map at least vision on Fnatic, he was looking for something else. Does that change here on the Jarvan, and how do we see him adapt to this playstyle?
We're already seeing that Fnatic coming down here. Winter does have his ward cleared out, and there's also a ward in the river. So typical gank timings will sometimes come in around the 3-minute mark, where most of the time you start looking for these big ganks, and a little bit later if they're going to be full clearing. But Fnatic already kind of warded out. They have a good idea of where he is, and so it just turns into this kind of inefficient jungle path where he will clear his bottom side of the map and then probably look to pick up the top lane crab where PCL has the priority.
And it's all about adapting in the moment, right? And like making sure that you're not giving away those early advantages. But if you make a call that doesn't work out, trying to recoup as much as you can. Here, it looks like he's going to try to recoup towards mid lane as Fnatic is hovering over. And he's behind Dark Wings. You do have RBM over that way as well. We're getting a little tussle in mid lane, 2v2 action. Dark Wings going to be able to get away. No summoner spells burn that time around.
Well, we are going to be seeing kind of a handshake right now between the two junglers going for opposite side crabs because Darkwings doesn't have the tools necessary to actually contest either one of these, but he is also going to be able to teleport back into lane, and so we might just be seeing another 2v2.
More 2v2 action, bring it on. Here's RBM going for those aggressive invades, but he will find nothing in Fnatic's blue side jungle. Some of that inefficient pathing works out for Fnatic.
There it is, yeah. Fnatic is able to pick up his top side camps right now, and another hook. So much fighting bottom lane.
There is a lot of poke damage down, but Zyko is able to get out with, or get Sketch Streams out with that Dark Passage. Nicely done, and that's why, you know, a crucial piece to resolve success in game one was the Thresh, and AOE picked up first pick.
I also want to highlight something that we do have to touch on up in the top lane, right? This is a matchup that is typically a little bit Shen favored due to the interaction between Spirit's Refuge and Camille's Q, right? Where you get the enhanced auto attack is completely dodged by Shen's W. And so right now we are actually seeing that PCL kind of respecting that and not looking to play for the lane, for the 2v2 quite as much. He doesn't have the ignite, so he has a flash.
Fnatic is here, but so is RBM. RBM's going for the
ignite.
lane gank here.
God.
They don't know he's here. Faisal, he almost gets hit by the Sonic Wave, but does not. It is so close up here. We're so bound to get action. And PCL, he's going to get out with the flash. Faisal thought he had him.
Man, this is huge. PCL pushed off once again. He's going to lose out quite a bit of this. Going to be forced to teleport back into lane. AOE punishing this top side once again in this game. Now, I do want to point out the difference, right? We just got done talking about Flash versus Ignite on this champion. He would have died there if he had Ignite.
Yep, he definitely would have. RBM has found APA in the mid lane, though. He's going to have Darkwings joining soon. Scatter the Weak comes out, stun up there, but Darkwings isn't there in time. Can't get APA down. Fnatic and RBM are just like shadowing each other this entire game. Everywhere one of them shows up, the other is sure to follow.
And we have to say, Fnatic unfortunately has been missing these cues, right? It's just a situation where if he starts landing some of these Sonic Waves, he becomes a lot more threatening. Instead, if both Jarvan and Lee Sin just sit there and farming, Jarvan's going to be very happy with this situation. So the fact that Jarvan has had a little bit more impact on the map and he's staying abreast of Lee Sin in terms of actually being able to farm, AOE are pretty happy with at least that jungle matchup. They are also in a spot where they have to be careful because we're going to get very explosive mid games, but at least Jarvan's happy.
Yeah, at least Jarvan's happy. RBM going to be smiling over there, at least for the moment. We do have Dragon spawned up onto the Rift. It is a Cloud Dragon to kick us off. Maybe a little bit difference in the priority we see around those objectives this time around. Resolve, we're already ticking away at making sure they have the priority for Dragon last time around. This time, it does look like AOE are going to take that priority, having brought RBM back down towards the bot lane. But Fnatic is here as well. Nice hook hit Winter. It's dropped down about half health. RBM was ready to pull the trigger.
RBM doesn't quite have level 6 yet, but he can look for a potential dive. Faisal has his ultimate, and he is getting a push in.
And you see Fnatic has already roamed away. He's actually pathing back down this way because he realizes what could be happening. Winter gets dragged out. There's the death sentence, beautifully landed, but Psycho gets taken out for first blood. And Sketstreams is in some trouble. Array is all alone under tower, but they're gonna turn it. Resolve have taken everything. Dark Wings is gonna go down too eventually, and all you have left is Faisal. Is he gonna be able to pull back anything else? No, it is an almost total ace at the same time for Resolve. It's 5-1 in kills.
All 5 members of AOE just died in the bottom lane, Lennon. Absolute disaster coming out for Area of Effect. That might be the difference between them continuing to play in this game and the fact that they might be going home. We said that Faisal was trying to get a push in up in the top lane so that he could teleport down, but you know what? He got interrupted, and it makes it even worse in the top lane. He uses ultimate, gets interrupted, goes down with the teleport anyway, dies, gets only an assist, and now they're fighting another kill.
Oh no, Zyko gets caught here. The death sentence isn't going to save you today, neither will the play.
Oh,
a killing spree for Fnatic. This is tragedy for AOE.
Oh god, I mean, just look at how they actually go for this, right? Notice the fact that the Shen ultimate comes through onto Jarvan with this gank, but it doesn't actually complete, right? He gets the shield, and it just is, it's so chaotic. They're not able to really find anything. Zyko was tanking, I think he thought RBM was tanking, and eventually, by committing all 5 members to this fight, they do get Array, but that's really just about it. There's not a whole lot that they're doing. They end up conga lining in one after another, and we praise them for their mechanics, but this is a situation where you just needed the coordination first.
Trying to utilize the team play that is not working out to their fashion this time around, and very unfortunate start for AOE, but if they can get back to a position that they did last game when they did, they can do it again this game. It's only 6-1. It's sub 10 minutes. You've got a lot of work and a lot of mountain to climb for AOE in this game.
All right, well, what is this? Okay, so we got a replay. Zyko, unfortunately, just walks into the wrong neighborhood. And Fnatic, he's been missing a lot of these. Oh, this is fancy. I didn't notice this part earlier. Right, he was missing a lot of the cues initially from Fog of War, but Zyko, he has a flash, but when he gets hit by the ultimate from APA, not a whole lot left to do. So Fnatic showing off a couple of fancy mechanics, and what were they necessary? I don't know. Were they cool? Yeah.
Hey, that's what you play Lee Sin for, right? I mean, of course. I will say during all of that, the Resolve were able to take the Rift Herald, right? So Fnatic does have that under his tool belt. That's a huge moment of pressure for Resolve. They're going to get even more gold off the back of that. And with the amount of kills that Fnatic has had, he's already at his mythic spike now. That is a scary Lee Sin, and RBM knows that. So I don't know if we're necessarily going to see that shadowing that we've seen all game so far because of that lead that Resolve has got.
It will be really scary for RBM to really find any of these fights now. He's so far behind in itemization. And realistically, the top lane is also going to be hurting pretty badly. Normally, again, it's supposed to be Shen favored, but now PCL is well over halfway to his Divine Sunderer, which, better in this game, for what it's worth, is also something that is going to be very difficult for Faisal to try and match, because he is super far from his mythic. He put it off in order to get a Bramble Vest first in order to reduce some of the healing that PCL will be doing when the Divine Sunderer comes through, and also every time you land that W.
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult. Ooh, Winter's on a roam up here. RBM does find the flag and dragons. Fnatic, but Fnatic's here, and there's that damage profile we're looking for. Beautiful Cataclysm, and here's all the members of AOE. They've turned it around, and that's going to be 2 quick kills given back over.
It's a counter disaster, right? Fnatic just gets blown up. We saw such a crazy fight, and Darkwing's beautiful usage of the ultimate as well. What more are they going to get? PCL trying to fight with Faisal. RBM can come around now because he knows the hookshot's down.
Oh no, yeah, they decided to stay. You do have Zyko here. I think they've decided better of it. You've got Winter and Fnatic just trudging down the lane, trying to get here quick enough. RBM's going to complete his bag. Zyko is going to stay. You got to expect AOE are going to pull off of this after getting back a little bit of something.
They are. They're still down 2,000 gold. We do have to remember that they are in a not winning position. But that was a big morale booster that they really needed. So I really want to highlight how Darkwings actually plays through this fight, right? Because it's a little bit chaotic. Fnatic gets jumped on. There's a, crowd control back and forth. But Darkwings coming through. He sees all 3 members here. And the timing on this ultimate after the Camille not only unlocks him so he's not locked in place, but catches all 3 members, puts them all on top of each other, and it's a ton of damage he's able to do to everybody all at once. And it is going to get traded for a kill's worth of gold in the top half from Fnatic's Rift Herald, but big plays coming out from Darkwings, now rivaling Fnatic's ability to just generate gold on the map.
And that Azir is huge for the setups. When you're trying to contest objectives, when you're trying to fight at all in these team fights, that Azir is going to be absolutely crucial, and especially Darkwings on the Azir. This guy has had such comfort on the pick. He's found so many insane moments on the Azir. This is a moment to show some more of those, and it's going to start coming up here. You've got to expect some more tussling going to come down. Resolve are going to try to force some of the hand of AOE here because of that small advantage they've been able to accrue for themselves. Oh, Darkwings tried to go for it. He gets dropped back. You thought you had the Emperor's Divide, but Darkwings survives for just a moment to get taken down by Fnatic. The rest of AOE are just going to be taken out by Fnatic as well. That's a double kill again for the Lee Sin. This guy is unstoppable right now, Toshi.
There are not close fights in this game, Lennon. That's the 3rd blowout fight in a row that we've had. There's a blowout bottom, there's a blowout top, there's a blowout mid, and now, oh gosh, Sketchstreams, can he live?
Sketchstreams! Oh, the traps! Oh my god, Sketchstreams! You're
Rocket?
a monster! He doesn't hit the Mega Death Rocket, but I don't care. You get those all day long.
That
Heck
was
of a play from Sketchstream.
very impressive, right? The double traps keeps him alive, and he almost gets the kill onto Winter, but it's still going to be him getting pushed in array. Might be overstepping a little bit here now that Zyko is walking up, but without them Death Rocket, it's going to be a lot harder to do anything on the map. So, I mean, we've been seeing good plays from both teams, but as APA said, it's whoever shows up on the day. Darkwings goes for a bold play here, and unfortunately, just misses. I mean, that's really about it.
He crosses so much distance. Like,
Yeah.
through his dash plus the kick, and then the flash after it. The fact that he's able to still get the Emperor's Divide off is pretty impressive, but it just brings Fnatic where he wanted to be.
Yeah, and again, because both these teams are kind of jumping on top of each other, and there's like this big
the
situation.
Cataclysm.
Yeah, where you just stack all of your members right in one spot. Both teams are very happy to just AoE the other one down, so so far, it's kind of been whoever's starting the fight is losing because you are stacking too much on top of each other. And we'll see if that continues to be a trend throughout this game. Resolve did pick up the first dragon as well.
They did. So very good objective control again from Resolve here in this second game. They already do have pings coming down onto the Rift Herald. This would be Rift Herald number 2 for them. It does feel like it's a tried and true objective for them as they've developed such a lead with Fnatic. He can kind of just show up in places and not be answered to, really. RBM is scouting around the bot lane, potentially looking for a play onto Array, but it will be that objective going over yet again to Resolve.
I also want to point out something that's kind of funny, maybe only to me, but the inventories of Fnatic and RBM are very similar, right? You have a Phage, you have the plated steel caps, and you have the Iron Spike Whip and Iron Spike Whip's daddy, right? The whole gore drinker.
Very true.
This is not close.
Something to aspire to, right? Something to look up to. RBM actually gets caught in the aggression there. I do still like this though. It's how AOE have found leads for RBM in the past, right? That aggressive invade style, and still looking for those even when you're in the deficit, because we saw last game there's so many moments where you can pull back little kills, little catch outs, and it completely changes the name of the fight. But this time around, it's just so difficult to really find anything. The jungle is sparingly available to RBM, and now he's got top lane pushing, he's got mid lane pushing, and Resolve just looking to set up play.
Resolve going to be dropping this Rift Herald in the mid lane, and Zyko is going to be forced to stay, but I don't think he's going to be able to defend this. Okay, yeah, now the Rift Herald is in fact closer to the turret. It does technically less damage, so it is going to stay alive for a second, but he's going to force the flash.
Oh my god! Without the Dark Passage shield, he's dead, 100%. The Rift Herald does get the tower as well, so big stuff from Resolve. They're going to unleash the pressure of the mid lane there. Now they just got to work on bot lane tower.
See how they choose to go about it. There's a lot of ways. You could teleport PCL down, you can just go for a die with Fnatic, you can rotate people around because there's another dragon coming up soon, but PCL likely going to be up top lane. He is at a spot now where this matchup is starting to get a lot better for the Camille, right? He's got a lot more true damage, and it's on alone of cooldown that the Spirit's Refuge is not up for both the first time you try and do it and the second time that you try and do it. So Faisal going to be in a very tough spot, and it's not fun to play Shen when behind because you don't have a lot of agency over when things happen. You're more like, no, you go, I follow you. I'm on top of you, but you have to do it first.
Yeah, and that's something that communication needs to take a leap up from game number 1 for AOE for that to work, right? And that's something I find interesting with this comp that AOE have drafted for themselves, is they are seemingly indexing more into that communication, right? They have a lot more moving pieces that need to be communicated on and let know of for the whole team, right? And I think it's working out to an extent for them so far, except for that early tussle. But I think if you didn't have that crazy 5-kill lead for Resolve in the beginning, I think the story would be a bit different here for AOE in the way that they've set up their composition.
Yeah, I think it's also worth kind of looking at how these teams are playing, right? I feel like as we start looking at the twilight of AOE, it's time to celebrate them a little bit before this game is over. And it's not over, but it is looking grim at this point. And I really feel like I want to continue to pay attention to how these guys have grown, right? A lot of these players were not recognizable when the year first started, right? So the fact that people like RBM, Darkwing, Sketchstream, Zyko, and Faisal are all now here at Proving Grounds, now that they are in a situation where they've done super respectably for a team of rookies. It's something that you have to be paying attention to. They've all been working really hard. They've all been trying to build up their opportunities. Unfortunately, they're getting cut.
Yeah, Faisal's going to be taken out, but I completely agree, right? And Resolve is not allowing them to really show that off here in this one, right? You've got to think about the story that has come from AOE, and especially the likes of, we can laud every single one of these players. They've all shown up in their own fashions, right? But that Darkwings RBM duo is so huge and have become staples in amateur in their own right, where you see that a lot of the times on the other side with Resolve, where they have a lot of tried names in amateur who have shown up, who have done some serious work here and are showing themselves up on the day. And right, and that all leads back to what APA said, showing up on the day. It doesn't matter. All the competition is so close, but who can have the right mindset here today and now? And today it's Resolve.
Yeah, and I also want to give a quick quote from the owner. We'll get to that as soon as Sketchstreams dies.
Oh no, Sketchstreams. The shield bow gives him a lot of time. You also got the Stand United, Joshi. Okay. He's not out just yet. You were saying eulogies, but the man survives. A lot used to make that happen. But hey, the precedent is safe.
He is safe right now, right? This is the player that a lot of Resolve people were giving props to, even over people like RBM and Darkwings. But to quote AOE Riley, the owner of the organization, just like, these guys, they're funny, committed, hardworking people. They care about each other's growth, the org, and hell, they even supported our developing players last night on stream, right? The fact that these guys are actually playing, almost like a family, right? It's not just the AOE people, but the fact that they care about the brand that they're building, they care about the organization is something that, is important. Your players need to be recognizable, and I feel like AOE are well on the way to doing that first step.
Good culture in the amateur scene is very hard to come by, and if you can start making steps to having a good ingrained culture in an organization, it is huge. We've seen those kinds of successes come from the top down, right? Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, all these teams that have invested into a structure for themselves and that culture, it brings so much to the table, and to see it budding like this from AOE is so awesome. But we got to get back to the brass tacks of it here. They've got to find a way back into the game. We've already set up so many times, Joshi. This is it. Resolve have them on the ropes. If they do not win here, they are out of the Proving Grounds. So how do they come back into this? Where do they find those advantages?
Their team composition strengths are still the same as what they were from draft. It is difficult for Resolve to always get on top of both Azir and Jinx, and either one of them might have the damage necessary to actually carry a single fight if Rakan and Lee Sin and Camille can't get to them. The problem is the tools that they need in order to buy space for either of these players are rapidly disappearing. Jarvan's not strong enough to stand up for very long. The Shen ultimate has been interrupted multiple times. He doesn't even have a completed mythic now at 21 minutes. And the Thresh, he's doing his best, but he also doesn't have a full item. They're just so far behind that if they could ever find a situation where Darkwings and Sketchstreams can free hit, they can win, but those situations are becoming harder and harder to find.
and the timer starts ticking, right? The same thing as last time. It's not as quick this time around, but that objective control is super strong by Resolve. They're already on 2 dragons, another one in 2.5 minutes. They're moving around the Baron pit right now as well to force AoE's hand. And this is where you're stuck between a rock and a hard place for AoE. You're not strong enough to fight these fights, but if you continue to lose these objectives, you just bleed out the game all the same.
Okay. Resolve are hitting this Baron. They know it is on Vision, but they're committing to it anyway. No Ocean Dragon.
TP for PCL from the base.
Aggressive.
Oh, he's TPing in on behind. They want to go for it. Fnatic tries for the kick, but can't find it. Sketchstreams gets the heroic entrance, or at least Stand United used on him. That's already Darkwing's down. RBM goes on the back line. This is split everywhere. Fnatic is dead. Can this be where AoE turn it around? No, the Scat of the Week shuts them down. Winter with the double knockup, and they've got too much damage to deal with. Luckily, Sketchstreams is there to stop the slaughter, but it's still Resolve who come out on top.
We saw hints of what AoE's composition is supposed to do, and if they were a little bit stronger, that would have been a winning fight for AoE. Unfortunately, they're just too far behind right now. We saw Resolve forcing really hard in order to get this fight happen, and they end up coming out technically ahead in kills, but I imagine probably behind due to the bounty that Fnatic actually had. So we kind of get a reset, and now Resolve continue to move forward. We got a dragon in a minute, and with a bunch of flashes down on members of AoE, Resolve is going to have a much easier time actually finding a winning fight next time.
And it's going to be a little bit more difficult to approach these fights for AoE. You see they're already trying to get priority in the bot lane, but PCL's there and ready to go to keep the pressure up. AoE want to make a move down here onto the split pusher, but they're just trying to set up around this dragon. You've got Stand United not available for Faisal. He does have TP, but it's going to take time for them to join the fight. PCL almost gets dropped by Darkwings. There's a decent amount of damage right now with this Azir. You already see Fnatic ready to go for this dragon spawn in 25 seconds. They've still got so much time to play with.
The fact that the mid lane turret is down on the AoE side of the map just makes it so much easier for Resolve to get that prio there. It doesn't bounce off the way. Winter?
He saw Sketchstreams for like a millisecond. Was like, nope, we're going. Oh, there's the Cataclysm onto Array, but RBM is just gone. He poofed out of nowhere. PCL almost gets Darkwings. That's going to be the Sonic that does not hit, as it will hit onto the dragon, and Resolve turn right back to their objective. The thing they wanted the whole time. It's the dragon's sole point. Resolve.
Again, it looks like a situation where the members of AoE looking for these mechanical plays, but they're not necessarily doing it the same kind of coordinated fashion that Resolve do. Resolve play around geography on the map so well, and we're seeing that once again. They knew that Darkwing was too far away, Sketchstreams was too far away to actually participate in the fight, and it results in Resolve finding an easy pick into a dragon, and they were threatening the Baron. Unfortunately, they don't feel strong enough to do it just quite yet. They want to go home and spend their gold, but AoE, again, it's getting harder and harder for them to manufacture these fights. The ultimate wasn't there. And AoE, you need to find something soon before the game is over.
You know, the fact that you're talking about AoE trying to find something right, that's all important. I think that Resolve here has showed something really interesting to me across these last 2 games in the willingness that they have to start Baron, but not do it, right? We've seen so many times where they just start it up, but then somebody in the call is like, okay, guys, we're pulling off. And they all pull off, which is good and bad in its own right? It shows that communication. It shows they're all on the same page to an extent, but some of the starts are a little sketchy, I feel like.
I like the willingness to just kind of hit it, right? Because there's a lot of times at this level of play where the other team just doesn't come, right? They don't check. And you end up just getting some free Barons because of it. Now AoE are fully in a position where they can respond to the Baron, so obviously Resolve can't do it right now. But they also have APA split pushing because nobody can actually match the amount of damage he's able to put out.
They cannot. You see a lot of movement around this mid lane.
Seen this before.
They get a catch out here. Yeah, it's not looking good. Big Emperor's Divide back. RBM gets out. Death Sentence lands. They've actually found a Ray. They also found Winter, but they don't get him down just in time. It's still Fnatic you got to worry about, and PCL's making hell for your backline. Sketchstreams, Shield Bow is popped, but he is down. That's also Psycho going into his death, and Faisal's the last one. This is an ace potentially for Resolve, but they back off of Faisal, say we'll leave one alive to tail the tail.
AOE, they're trying so hard to manufacture these fights, but they're over-diving. We're seeing that we need to create space for Darklings and Sketchstreams, but they're not actually able to hit, and instead, you just end up throwing Jarvan away. So now PCL, Fnatic, and APA going to be hitting the Baron. Faisal can't do anything about it. He's just going to be backing away, trying to clear out some of these minions before Resolve are able to use them to crash into the turret. Wait a second. He's just late.
Darkwing TPing in as well with Faisal. The Baron's already gone. He's bringing bodies out onto the map. Here's a replay of what happened.
Watch where Darkwings and Sketchstreams are during this whole fight, right? I respect the attempt coming in from RBM. He knows he needs to find a fight while Singer isn't there, try and win it quickly. But Darkwings is just now hitting. Sketchstream still hasn't auto-attacked in this fight a single time. The Rocket doesn't do enough, and unfortunately, by the time Sketchstreams is able to start hitting, Darkwings is effectively already dead. If this fight had gone a little bit more in their favor, if the geography was a situation where they could get their members to hit, it might have been a winning fight. Unfortunately, they don't do the first couple of steps. They skip them, and it just means that Resolve are going to be able to hit them with their wallets for a team fight victory.
And I feel like in the past, right, RBM pulls a trigger like that, and they're able to get it, right? They find the pick onto Array. Everybody follows up and they can do it. It's just not happening today. We've seen so many times today where AOE are pulling triggers on fights, but there's no follow-up there, and that's something that Resolve have been able to take advantage of.
It feels really, really difficult because the game plan for all of your characters doesn't change as AOE, right? But just the windows in which you can execute them do. And it feels like RBM, normally he plays for himself. If he was playing like the Kazakhs or something, he might have been able to find these kills without help. As Faisal tries to go for PCL, but he just isn't doing enough damage at this point in the game.
He's pretty strong, though.
He's strong.
I mean, that's pretty scary. PCL backed off of it. That's pretty funny. Oh, wait. The Chains of Corruption. Winter gets the knock-up. Darkwings goes gold, and he's still going to survive. Winter not going to survive this time around. Emperor's Divide. Beautifully done, but he's still, after all of that, goes down. And PCL is going to bring in the fight with APA and Array to back him up. Faisal is the next to fall. He doesn't go down just yet. And it's crazy back and forth, but Resolve still come out on top.
Resolve are the ones to pick up a turret, but we saw how effective team fights can be if Sketchstreams can just hit and hit and hit. He was able to get a lot of damage down, almost picked up Fnatic, but it's going to be multiple structures going down in favor of Resolve. They take the top lane inner, they take the mid lane inhibitor turret, and with 15 seconds left before the next dragon actually spawns, RBM might not be able to get there in time. And APA, is he just going to blow up Zyko?
Oh, Zyko does get the death sentence there. Not necessarily the one you want to hit. Piercing Arrow does so much damage to Zyko. Looks like the two carries from Resolve will be able to make it out just in time for the dragon to spawn. This is a Mountain Soul spawning for Resolve.
Resolve, obviously, they like having the soul. In every situation, you prefer to have it than not having it, but it's not quite as impactful in this game, and RBM might try and steal it, but it would be going to his death. The PCL just making sure that can't happen.
He ain't stealing it today. That's the Hextech ultimatum over the side of the wall, and RBM is out of the game yet again.
Feels rough, right? I do want to reach out to the players of AOE, because I do not feel like everything that happened in this game after the very first dive really reflects how they normally play.
At all.
No, I mean, when you give over 5 kills in the first couple of minutes in a scrim, you're just like, yeah, we're not going to learn anything here, but now they have to play it out.
Oh my god, they got the catch back though. PCL in some trouble here as well. Winter's dead. You've got the excited Sketchstreams, but is it enough? Faisal gets so low, nobody can touch Array and APA, and just makes it so damn scary.
Okay, well, they do end up stalling out a little bit further. That's really good, and we are seeing signs of life from AoE, right? But the problem is you got another Baron spawning in about 2 minutes. You have an Elder Dragon spawning in 5, and while we saw last game, AoE were able to find a turnaround and pick up 1 Elder Dragon and 1 Baron back-to-back because of an overreach from Resolve. It's going to be very difficult for them to do that. Resolve have been playing a much more tempered style of game throughout most of this. They haven't necessarily gone for these crazy plays, these overreaches that ended up hurting them last game, and if they can continue doing that, should be a clean victory.
And the confidence that's just resonating from Resolve right now in this series is immense, Joshi. Like, you can just feel it in all of these calls throughout this entire series. They have been pushing the buttons of AoE. They have constantly been keeping up the pressure for a team that we've said likes to wait to the late game, likes to get to the late game, and then start making those decisions. They have not stopped as soon as they've hit Summoner's Rift.
The confidence is so good, right? Winter said they were really struggling when they didn't have the confidence in themselves. And now that they're playing without expectations, now that they're playing with the idea that every single opponent needs to be respected, we're going to take it one game at a time, they're doing quite well. But Sketchstreams now here is potentially at risk of having the other side of the map getting engaged upon because he's just not there to hit. So AOE needs to seed a lot of vision in the top half of the map, and unfortunately it is so dangerous for them to even leave the confines of their base at this point.
Yeah, it's 12,000 gold in the lead for Resolve. They're pushing down the waves. They've got mid and bot pushing with PCL on the side by himself. See how many inhibs they're able to scoop away this time around. It looks like they're going to commit towards bot lane, though. They could still go for this inhib. RPM takes a shot there. Third of his health missing.
Okay, now they're pushing in. They're only the one cannon minion means they're only
doing
a little
RPM?
damage. Yeah, a lot of damage right there. They don't get a ton of damage on the bottom lane inhibitor turret, but they do take the mid lane inhibitor. That just means super minions are going to start pouring in and Resolve. They seem very happy to just kind of play this a little bit slowly. They're playing a 3-0-2 kind of split, and I feel like the double solo laners might be strong enough to survive at least the initial burst coming out of AoE, and that might give enough time for the other members of Resolve to pick up any objective they want. And it looks like the objective they want is going to be the Baron.
It is looking like it. That Baron is coming up very, very soon, and they're going to be able to burn it down quickly. You've still got the side lane pushing with APA and PCL, who are going to back away now, but the Baron's already toast. And you cannot leave your base, as you said, as AoE. And this gets back to the point I was talking about earlier. It's so hard from this moment on, right? It's been hard. You've been at a 10+K deficit for a majority of this. But the fact is you can't leave your base, and they have free run over the map.
It feels almost chess-like at this point, right? You just pin all the members of AoE to their turrets to say, hey, you have to defend these, and now because we're faster, we're going to rotate to the other side of the board. We're going to pick up these undefended pieces, in this case the Baron, and now that you just have this material advantage, you can just run down the center. And AoE, they need to find something, but they need to find mistakes coming out from Resolve in order to actually punish it. With the Baron coming up, with the Elder Dragon available in just 2 minutes, feels like AoE are starting to run out of options, and I have to feel like RBM at this point, it's either desperation, where he's going to go for things that he wouldn't necessarily work otherwise, or almost shattered morale, where he doesn't go for things that he'll need to. It's so hard to make these decisions in this kind of position.
And you can see the entire team for AoE is just kind of turtling up, staying together, waiting for where they need to respond to at this point for Resolve, because Resolve are just buying their time, pushing down the waves, making sure everything's set up for them for their momentous victory. Faisal might get caught out here by PCL, attacking the weak point potentially up here while the other 4 members are going into the base. Faisal, oh my god! You're a tank and you still take that much damage! PCL is taking no prisoners as Faisal's forced to flash away.
He's going to heal up a lot of that too with the Ravenous Hydra in his inventory. Faisal needs to back away, and there's a window here for Resolve to try and do something for Faisal can respond. Yeah, this is going to be the rest of it going down. For it.
This is make or break. This is AoE's hopes and dreams, but they are shattered in front of their very eyes. Resolve, they took everything that AoE threw at them and threw it right back tenfold. Resolve are pushing into the base and are looking to end AoE's Proving Grounds season. That is it. They're taking them out. AoE might have taken out the heart of Amateur, but their heart will go on no longer. Resolve, move forward in the loser's bracket.
There you go. Very clean game coming in from Resolve. It had a little bit of twists and turns throughout it, but Resolve never felt like they were not in control of this game. Great game coming through from all of these members. And while the first game was very close and super high octane, the second one felt like the Resolve of old, where they were just able to bully people around, never really allow them to come back, and just threatening them. It's like, hey, we're going to team fight better than you, so you got to find something to do. And unfortunately, AoE were never able to do it.
And that's what's crazy to me is that first game, I still felt like Resolve had a ton of control over that game, even though things were so back and forth and they were going to the brink with AoE. But this second game, as you kind of said, Resolve of old, just the resolve that they showed in this game, in this series in particular, they are a force to be reckoned with.
incredible responsiveness to this play also just results in Resolve getting a 5-for-1 turnaround on this. And remember, like, it's just kind of back and forth. All the members of AOE just kind of go in one at a time and end up dying, right? The coordination difference between these two teams results in Fnatic getting 3 kills and 2 assists basically to start the game. He goes from, I think, level 5 at the beginning of that, he gets level 6, and then he starts making some really cool plays just because he can. And ultimately, when Fnatic is, normally the one who's going to be setting up the rest of his team for these plays, when he's the one who is that far ahead, it becomes very difficult to do anything, because when the enabler is strong, everybody else on your team rapidly becomes so as well.
Yeah, exactly. And Fnatic was definitely that enabler. No matter how many times AOE was looking for the plays, it just did not end up in their favor, especially like a play like this.
I don't know, man. Dark Wings had a great play topside, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get a replay of the highlight that they had for this second game of the day. Instead, just going to be Resolve, going to be barreling down, finding every single kill they can. And it just is brutal to watch, right? When you have such a large gold lead to start, you reset the scrim, but this is a stage game. You have to play it out. You find everything. And I got to praise Winter as well for a lot of his ability to actually find the backline, disrupt Dark Wings and Sketch Streams so that he wasn't, or they weren't able to just free hit through a lot of these fights. He was instrumental in allowing people like APA and Array to actually do the damage necessary to win these engagements.
And I know it was already pretty much set and done, but like what solidified Winter there in that one for me was the end where he was able to get the last knock up onto the 2 carries of AOE and just completely end the game right after that. So I think it was all around a great performance from Resolve. They have a lot to look at for that game. Number one, why it went the way it did, why they were overextended and trying to kind of pull that back a little bit. But all in all, Resolve have shown up against one of the rising teams here in the Proving Grounds in AOE. And I got to take a moment and give a huge heartfelt shout out to AOE in totality, right? We talked in the game a little bit about the organization in general, the system that they're trying to develop, the culture that they're trying to develop. It has been stunning to see how much development they've had in this year. And it is absolutely incredible. So hearts out to AOE, not the way you wanted to go out, but a wonderful performance nonetheless throughout the year. Now I do believe we are ready for our interview. I believe we have Fnatic coming over from Resolve. Let's see if we can get him. Fnatic, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Sweet. Oh, man, Fnatic going up against RBM, one of the at least favorite junglers in the Proving Grounds. How does it feel to just have such a dominating performance in both games?
I mean, personally coming to this, I feel like, there's a lot of players been taking shots when I wasn't playing well a month ago, and RBM was one of them. So I came today and I just wanted to prove a point.
Hey, and you whip out the Lee Sin to a game number 2, take it to him. I love it. Do you have any thoughts about, that series in particular, especially game 1, and kind of the things that you guys can pull away from that game?
I mean, I think in the past, even versus Wildcard Red, I think we just gotta relax in the mid-late game. We get in good scenarios, but then we just start stressing, then we just end, we honestly, we could have lost game 1 if they committed to maybe ending at the Elder. But luckily they did not, so.
So let's take a little look at what some of your other teammates have said, right? AP and Winter have both kind of referred to the fact that a month ago you guys weren't playing quite as well. You didn't have your confidence. What did it take for you guys to get that confidence back and now start having some incredible performances against a bunch of other Proving Grounds teams?
Personally, I think our atmosphere was very bad a month ago. I think even before that, even though we are doing okay, we still didn't have the best atmosphere, so we just change it completely. And now we're just completely different team, just in scrims, in review, just out of game, everything.
I like it, man. I love to hear that kind of shift in mentality. For me, the biggest thing is how you guys have come together as a whole, right? When you guys are all on the same page, it's an unstoppable machine. How has that synergy been developed for you guys? Has it been a lot of outside of league where you guys are bonding a little bit more as a team, or is it more just tried and true, focus on league, get better as individuals, and come together as a whole?
For sure. I mean, I know personally, I've played with both PCL and Winter in the past, in the past 3 years, and the only 2 players that were new to me are APA and Array. So it was very easy for me to just build synergies with Ian, which is APA, sorry. So I just had to focus on that, and then the rest just came very easily.
All right, well, we do also have to pay attention to where the future is going for Resolve, right? Your next opponents are going to be the winners of Evil Geniuses Academy versus Immortals Academy, which is happening next. Do you have any preferred winners, and who do you think is actually going to take the series?
Personally, I would like to face Immortals, mainly because, all last split, me or us were just competing with Viper and Enda, and then they always, won in 5 games, so it would be fun to have a rematch versus them. And I think favorite, I'm not sure, to be honest. It will be very, very, very aggressive in the top side, so should be a fun series to watch.
It's definitely going to be a fun one. We got that one coming up next. I want to give you one last moment, Fnatic. Do you have anybody you want to shout out, call out, or talk about here before we let you go?
I just want to shout out my teammates, I think a lot of them, they're at least Array and AP are very new players, so always getting that experience where it's like you lose or go home, so you got to show up. So it's telling that to them. And I think they played very well today.
I love it. Gotta love it. Thank you so much, Fnatic, and congratulations on winning, and good luck in your next game.
Thank you.
All right, Joshi. That was only one series of the day, I gotta say, and that was a heck of a Verizon post-match interview. I gotta love always talking Fnatic, hearing the kind of insight to the team and really what makes them tick, right?
Yeah, I mean, he said he was coming in to prove a point, right? They weren't playing quite as well before, and he's like, well, we're still one of the best teams in amateur. We're still looking to show up, and I feel like they definitely proved that today. And now they just start playing against more of the academy teams, depending on who actually ends up winning this one coming out.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be interesting. Well, on the other side of a short little break, we're going to have our next bout of the night. Another best of 3 knockout series. We've got Immortals Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Academy. You're not going to want to miss it.